Another day, another episode of the Pylon Redux series. Today we're building a floating sea turtle island for the Ocean Pylon. A small deserted island, a large sea creature, and a huge personal challenge lie up ahead, so let's jump straight into it. Just a quick note from me in the future, I'm sorry that this video came out later than I anticipated. I had to take my dog Shino to the emergency vet because one of his claws got split in the middle, it was bleeding a ton, and that pretty much meant that I wasn't able to edit this video yesterday morning, so I'm editing it quite a bit later. Just wanted to let you all know. And man, I do not like emergency vet clinics. It's so expensive, and we were waiting for hours before Shino got seen. But his paw has been taken care of and he's doing okay now. Now, let's get to the full video. Greetings friends, Khaios here. Welcome back to another episode of the Pylon House Redux series, where I build a custom house for each pylon in the game. I built a randomizer to tell us which pylon I have to build next, so we never know what's coming up. I've already built houses for the jungle, glowing mushroom, hallow, and universal pylons, and today I'll be tackling the ocean pylon. Then at the end of the video, I'll roll the randomizer once again to find out what I'll be building in the next episode. If you missed one of the previous pylons, be sure to check out the playlist linked in the description. In each of these videos in the series, I try to challenge myself by doing something I don't usually do, and one big thing that I almost never do is build animals. I also aim to build something that is totally different from the original Pylon series. 6 years ago, I built a sunken ruin with underwater houses, and I want to go in a totally different direction today. So for the Ocean Pylon Redux, I thought I would challenge myself by building a large sea turtle with an island on its back. After giving this a few outline attempts to see if I think I could pull it off, I believe I can. This is going to be a huge challenge for me, and it'll either look great or terrible, but either way, I'm eager to dive in. And if you are too, be sure to leave a like and check that you're subscribed. Leave a comment telling me what you think the randomizer will pick next. Oh, and thanks to the amazing MythicalWater, we now have a brand new support animation, so if you'd like to help support the channel in a direct way, you could check out my Patreon, YouTube memberships, or leave a tip in the digital coin jar by clicking the thanks button below the video. Now, let's kick up the first time lapse and get this build started. This is going to be a strange one for me. I don't usually build animals. My experience with nature is pretty much relegated to trees and other landscaping stuff, but animals, not at all my area of expertise. So I'm going to outline a large sea turtle. In full transparency, I did build an outline to the sea turtle a few times in my concept testing world before attempting to build it here, because I wanted to know if I could even do something that was remotely decent looking. So this is not my first attempt. I didn't want you all to think that I just jumped in here for the first time and built a decent looking sea turtle on my very first try. So to kick it off, I build the shell with dirt, then use hardened sand for the head and underside of the shell, and a stone for the fins. These will not be the final materials, I just wanted to make sure that I'm visually separating what is what on the body. When the outline is done, I start picking different materials. I decided on brown painted crispy honey block for the hard upper part of the shell. While I was filling it in, I started to wonder if I could find another material that looked similar to blend in with it and to vary the texture a little bit, but ultimately I didn't find anything that blended other than dirt, which I will use, but I'll get to that after the time lapse. For the head, I went with deep lime painted lesion block because it has a pretty decent texture for this. Even if I got an eyeball texture, it would just look like a bump on the skin. I want the legs to be similar to the shell in color, but with a different texture entirely. So I looked for a material that made a good dark brown, but was a smoother block. Ultimately, I went with brown painted lead brick. Finally, for the softer bottom of the shell, I wanted a lighter colored material, as the shells on the bottom of sea turtles are usually lighter than the tops. So I chose yellow painted flinks for a block, which takes on a decent pale tan appearance. I decided to carry that texture up the bottom side of the head as well. Then with all of the blocks filled in, I got to smoothing out the turtle, putting my hammer to work. Oh, and if you're wondering why all of the water looks frozen, I record on 2 accounts on one computer, so the camera account is in a different tab while recording. While it can see what's moving around on the server, some things do not move. Water is one of those things, so anytime I'm using the camera account, you'll just see static waves. Now, let's talk about making this sea turtle into an island. The turtle is looking pretty good, I think. There are some things that I'm not super happy with, so I might change materials later, or I might try some other things, because I'm not liking how these are blending right here. It's perfectly straight. I'd actually rather have the unblended texture like this, because then I could just throw background walls into it to kind of get them to get together. I would prefer if these blended in a more natural way, like how dirt does with the crispy honey. It's got like raises and dips to match the texture, but that's not something we could do, so I'll give this some thought and see what I want to do about that. But in the meantime, I'm going to take some actuators and I'm going to run it through all of the turtle that's under the water. That way we could have the water go in front of the sea turtle rather than the sea turtle being in front of the water. I think it'll just look better in general. I'm definitely liking it more. However, we now have this dark line right here where the water level doesn't meet up with the active blocks, and it's just partially inside of the actuated blocks. So I'm going to take some water and we'll raise the level of the ocean to where it's touching exactly the bottom of these blocks, and that might take some time given the size of the ocean. All right, now we have the water line touching the active blocks and all of the inactive blocks under the water. I'm wondering if it'll look better like this, or if we could get the turtle to visually pop out with some illuminant coating. I'm not sure if I'll like the way that looks. I'm gonna give it a shot though. So it does make it a little bit easier to see, but I think it looks a little too light. Maybe a better solution would be to just light up the area underneath the turtle, maybe with some gem spark. Yeah, I think lighting up the water looks better than illuminant coating the blocks. So I'm going to get rid of this, then I'll figure out how to light up the water in a more natural way later on. I'm not going to do it right this second. I'll leave the gem spark walls that we have here for now, but then I'll try to think about how we could get that to work naturally. Now, for the head, I'm thinking maybe I could just hammer an eye into place. Maybe like this. Then we could take any old wall with black paint. I just threw a granite wall in there because it's already dark. And give it its eye. Then I'm thinking maybe we could address this blending issue while also trying to give like the little bits of round scales that they tend to have on their face by breaking some of the lesion blocks and then filling the area around them with walls, and then maybe hammering them into just rough roundish shapes. Then maybe filling in that negative space with some yellow painted Flink's fur wall. It's a little bit darker than the block is because it's like an actuated version, but I think that works all right. Then maybe I can make a mouth line with some echo coating just on the wall like this, and then just make sure that there's walls in between the two. They don't line up as closely as I would hope. So that's not really going to do it. I'm going to have to give this some thought. But I'm also going to try actuating this Flink's fur that we have here. I'm just mixing in a little bit more Flink's fur here and there to give a bit of a more varied texture inside of the turtle's head. And I think that's looking pretty good. I don't know that I could make a mouth without making it just look like an ugly gap. I can't think of how I could actually get a mouth to work. Unless maybe I take another wall and run one wall that looks similar next to another. I'm not sure if there will be any walls that look pretty close to yellow painted Flink's fur, but if I can find one, then this might potentially work, because this won't be the choice. Maybe it's not terrible, but when I run these two walls together, we'll get a straight line between them. So that could be acting as a mouth, maybe, like through the middle of this. But I need to find two walls that match pretty closely, because the only place that I want them to connect is at that mouth line. It occurs to me that I could also potentially do the same thing with just lesion wall and have bits of lesion wall throughout the turtle's head as well. So I might be able to do that. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, I think I'm fairly happy with that. I'm still not sure if it'll look better if I actuate or inactivate those. Oh, definitely actuate them, because now it just looks like there's this really weird janky mouth. No. We'll definitely leave those in the background. Think it's better that way. Yeah, okay. Again, I've very rarely try building animals, so this is as much of a learning process for me as it is for you, but I figured, why not challenge myself, right? I've been challenging myself for all of the Pylon builds, and I might as well keep doing that. So I'm just going to take this wall, I'm just using lesion wall with brown paint, it really doesn't matter what, and I'm running it where the shell, well, the crispy honey block connects with other things that it doesn't blend with, because then we can get rid of that the gap where the blocks don't actually blend. I'm realizing this doesn't look great down here, so I'm going to hammer this because the Flink's fur blends together with the lead brick. And then I'll also smooth out the blocks where the soft undershell is connected with the hard shell top. And then in those spaces, we'll use more yellow painted Flink's fur. Yeah, I think that's looking decent. As long as I don't stare too much at the head, I don't end up hating it. I've got a little bit of an issue right here with the walls. So what I'm going to do is just place a couple more flinks for wall right there, just to get rid of that hard line that we had right here. I think next I'm going to start working on making the turtle island, because we've got a decent looking turtle, but we don't have an island yet. I just want to quickly see if any of these sand blocks blend together with the crispy honey. I don't think that they will, but if they will, it'll make our job a little bit easier. I do want to have the blocks blend here, but I don't want it to be like straight 90-degree angles. I want it to be more of a natural looking blend. And so far, the only block that I've found that actually blends with the crispy honey block in that fashion is just plain old dirt. So what I'm thinking I might do is have like a layer of dirt setting the bottommost part of this island. And we're just going to build the island onto the top of the turtle. And we'll probably even change the shape of this later. Just thought that digging into here might help me see a little bit better. I want to get as much of this as I can. Yeah, I've got quite a bit that I've still missed. And the reason why I want to get as much of this as possible is because I'm going to actually make most of the base of this island out of stone block, and stone will blend with the dirt, but it won't blend with the crispy honey. There we go. That should be it. Yep. Okay. So now we could take our stone and start blending it in with the dirt. Now, let's make this rock a little bit more jagged, kind of like little stone peaks. I have apparently found my camera account, so I'm just going to move that really quick. And once again, that's how I record my time lapses. I have a camera account sitting around, and sometimes I forget where I've left it, and I'll end up running into it on occasion like that. Now let's smooth out the stone a little bit. Then what I'm going to do is start swapping in bits of mud. I'm thinking of bringing more of a jungly vibe to this turtle. Like, we have palm trees over here. Oh, I don't really need this anymore. So we have palm trees over here. I don't really want palm trees on the turtle. I'm thinking rich mahogany will probably look pretty good. So if we bring mud and jungle grass over, then we could have a more tropical looking sea turtle floating island over here. Before I get to placing the mud, I'm just going to swap in some boulder to make the stone texture look a little bit more rough. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So now we could plant some jungle grass over the top of that. Of course, I forgot that we'll unblend it with the dirt. For some reason, mud will blend with dirt, but jungle grass won't. So we actually need an extra layer of mud between that and the dirt. That's no big deal whatsoever. And that was not dirt that I was placing there. There we go. Now I'm going to take some brown moss and just basically plant it over the visible exposed stone, making it look even more mossy. And now we could start planting some trees. This might take a little while because I want to have fairly small trees, or I could just immediately get a bunch of small trees. You know, sometimes it just works out that way, right? I think I'll put one down in the pit right here and one right here as well. In order to grow that, I need to make sure that I adjust the landscape a little bit because it won't grow too close to blocks on the side of it. I'd like something in between this height and the trees that, yeah, like this. I was saying something in between that super tall tree. Just covered the turtle's head in leaves. Oh man, that's actually a little funny. Then we'll break this part, replant the mud and the jungle grass, and reshape that block. We'll have to do the same thing on this side. Now let's give a little bit of depth to the stone in the background by having, or add some depth to the stone in the foreground by adding more to the background, is kind of what I meant to say there. By adding some stone walls that are just poking out here and there. On the edges, not so much, but in the middle, we could actually do quite a bit more and make it look like this is a bit more pitted and rocky than it would appear if we did it the other way. And we'll just do this with craggy stone wall and worn stone wall, which is always a decent go-to combination of stone walls. Then with some lime paint, make some little bushes. I love bushes. And I think the turtle's looking pretty good. I'll do some decorating on it before we finish. I'll speed up time, grow out the tall grass, grow out the moss as well. But what I want to do next is have two houses. Well, I need two houses for the pylon to work. I want to have one house on stilts on the front part of the turtle, like right around here. And then I want to have a second house on a small abandoned island. So obviously right now we have just the full-on beach. It's actually quite large. I marked off the point where the biome ends. It's actually pretty big, but I think what I'll do is just scoot the island over. Probably bring it to be more shallow down here, which is how I could probably light up the area down below by making some like bioluminescent coral or something down there. And then a small island with like a castaway survivor's hut built over the top of it. And that will give us the two houses, one here, one on the island. And I'll probably end up putting the Ocean Pylon directly onto the small island. I don't know. Let's kick up another time lapse and get to work on scooting this beach over and making it a small stranded island. Let's make some floating palm trees by completely demolishing the beach. The reason I'm actually breaking the blocks and not just building an island is because I want the water to be level on both sides of the small island. So the easiest way to do that is to demolish the land, fill in the ocean with more water, then when it's settled, build the island. With the beach cleared out, I start filling in the ocean. I don't know why, but I had convinced myself that the fastest way to do this was with the bottomless water bucket. After a while, I started to wonder if wet bombs were faster, so I swapped to them and tested it out. Yes, wet bombs were much faster and better for filling in large pools of water, so I'll have to keep that in mind for the future, as the bombs make quick work out of refilling the ocean. With the water level at the correct height again, I start building the island. To make my life easier, I started with a line of blocks over the water. On the underside of those blocks, I place sand, which then fall into place and eventually build a big cube of sand. Then, after the majority of the island is placed, I start placing sand down the sides of the island into the water. I want to make a mostly flat area here, whereas considering building a coral reef, so I use dirt to shape the area, then fill the space under it with sand in the same fashion that I did with the island. Though ultimately I will not be building a coral reef today. Then with all of the sand in, I start sloping the terrain, and I build a stone segment on the steep sides of the island, just to help justify how steep they are, as I picture stone being able to hold this shape better than sand would. Does it really matter in Terraria? No, but I do like my landscaping to make sense most of the time. Next, I plant a few palm trees on the island to stand out against those mahogany trees that I planted on the turtle. Then I build a few small bushes with some lime-painted living leaf wall. Now to get rid of those gem spark walls under the turtle. Instead of using bioluminescent glowing reefs to light up the underside of the sea turtle, I decided to try and make a huge school of jellyfish. I try to make several different sizes of them. Some are made with walls, some are made with blocks. Some of them are just a single tile, while others are 2x2, and some are even longer. Then to make the jellyfish pop out more, I paint them with illuminant coating. This doesn't do much to the actuated blocks, but for the walls, it drastically makes them pop out. I figure a spot of color will make the water more interesting, so I take various paint colors and slap them onto the jellyfish. I went with lime, pink, and sky blue. This, of course, will also affect the watercolor slightly, as the light the jellyfish produces will change when they're painted. And now let's talk about making some more decorative changes underwater, then get to building the two houses. For the Ocean Pylon, I'm thinking right here, because it kind of looks like a sandcastle made into this pylon with some, coral poking out of it. It would also kind of it kind of looks funny that it's just like a sand crown on the turtle's head. I don't know if that's a little too silly. This looks realistic. This looks silly. We're going with silly. So as I said during the time lapse, I didn't want to do coral, but I will place just some coral decorations down here just to liven it up. I didn't want to build an entire coral reef, but I don't want to talk about why I didn't want to build a coral reef, because, well, frankly, I built a lot of them, and I kind of wanted a little break from that. But I'll also place some kelp down here. I wish we had a way of growing the really tall, like grass-like kelp. If I'm going to leave that pylon there, maybe I'll slope this a little bit more like that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so up next, I'm going to build two houses. I definitely want one right here, but I'm worried that this gap might be too far away. So I'm thinking maybe put it on stilts like right at the edge of the shell right here and actually get rid of that tree. Wait, no, I won't. Not yet, because I got distracted and I forgot there's something else that I wanted to do underwater before I move on to building the house. And that is to place fish. So I'm going to use an echo coat and an ice rod, and we'll just place fish throughout the area. I know I had issues with fish in the first pylon house and them swimming up above the water like this and little bubbles, which is pretty annoying because that's not what I want at all. But we're in the depths of the ocean here, and I don't think that'll be nearly as much of a concern. So we have pufferfish, we have seahorses, We have goldfish. I know the goldfish won't really fit here, and neither will the pupfish. We have pupfish as well, but the fish options that we have in this game are extremely limited. So I'm just going to work with what we have to bring some more life to this area. So it's like a school of fish is following this giant sea turtle island around. While we do have turtles, we don't have the sea turtle. There's a sea turtle critter in the game, but for some reason we can't catch it with a net. The only turtles we can catch are the jungle turtle and the normal turtle. We also don't have a means of catching dolphins. It would be nice if we could catch sea turtles and dolphins, because then we could decorate with them. But since we can't, those are unfortunately not options for us. I also just realized that I was recording that entire thing from the camera account, which is annoying. Also, this fish still managed to find its way up here. That's also annoying. I'll have to find out which one that was and get rid of it. But let me just go swap accounts real quick. Okay, now we're back on the correct account, and let me just grab Spectre goggles and we'll find out which one this one most certainly. This one's probably also going to be too much, yeah. Fish. So annoying. Now, we do have ones getting air bubbles when they approach the top of the turtle shell, but that's in darkness. We can't really see it all that well. I'm not too worried about it. I guess these two also have to go because they're close enough to go up and get some air bubbles, which I wish they didn't do, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, I don't hate the fish in a bubble, but I hate it for that. Okay, now let's work on those houses now that we actually have the right camera account running and recording in the right location. Sorry about that. That would have looked very weird for you all. All right, so the house, I'm thinking, will be pretty simplistic, pretty small, minimalist. So we're just going to use some large bamboo for the vast majority of it. Make sure that I can get in and out of there. Then I'll take some shadewood fence and we'll run this into the ground as some stilts. And when I say ground, I mean into the shell of the sea turtle. Rich mahogany fence will sit behind the ashwood to give it a bit more depth. And I think I'll actually break the shadewood fence right here. Okay, no, that didn't layer the way that I thought it would. So apparently shadewood fence prioritizes above the rich mahogany there. I'm still trying to figure out the new wall layering prioritization. It's different. It's definitely different. I just cannot for the life of me figure out how. Everything just feels slightly off. But let's go ahead and make a little rooftop using some lime paint. Actually, we don't even need to paint it. Living rich mahogany wand. Then some shadewood fence here where the doors are going to be, with some palm wood doors inside. I'm actually not going to paint the bamboo wall here, just because I wanted to have a different color. I kind of like the combination of the two there. Then we'll use some lime paint and pine tree wall, and we'll fill in the rooftop part. Then some ashwood wall along there as a support. There aren't any walls here, but that should be small enough that it won't affect the house. Yeah, so we are just missing furniture, which we'll do in a little bit. But let's grab some more bamboo, this time fence. And probably still unpainted. Just put a small little window in there. And with some lime paint, I'm just going to... I need to turn on my paint sprayer for that. I'm going to add some strange plants to the roof of this house. Now, since this is living mahogany leaf, when I fast forward time, it should grow vines. I'm not sure if it will with the wall there. I might need to break the wall. I'm not entirely certain, but I'm pretty sure that it will grow there. Just place a little bit more of this living leaf over the ceiling to make it look like a fluffier looking house or rooftop. We'll do large bamboo here and a little bit of ashwood right there. Actually, let's not paint that bamboo. Let's see how that looks. It makes me wish that we had a horizontal large bamboo wall, because I would like to leave this unpainted as well, but it's not looking as good. Maybe if I deep lime paint it. Actually, that's not bad. That actually kind of fits. Okay, that's close enough. It doesn't have like the lines through it like the bamboo does, but it's small. I think that's probably good enough. Okay. Yeah, I just thought I would add a little bit more large bamboo here so we get a little cross stitching or cross section, like where the bamboos are tied together, because whenever you get essentially 4 bamboo touching, you get a little crisscross there. If you get more than that, then you end up with the same pattern that's used in the walls, but with a thin line of them touching, you just get a nice little connecting bit. And I thought it would be nice to include that in the house. I will decorate this in a little bit. That'll be one of the last things that I do. But let's work on this house. This house I want to feel quite a bit different, because I want this house to feel like it's made from the wreckage of, I don't know, a crashed plane or a ship or whatever stranded the individual on this island. So what I'm thinking here is having a bit of like a lean-to or something, just like a metal sheet that has been torn off or picked up from a wreck of some sort, and that's just leaning over, and I can't seem to hammer the right number of times right now. There we go. I'll make it look broken at the end. Then maybe a little bit of large bamboo there, so we get another cross section, maybe a little bit lower actually. Then the door will go here, another cross section, and we could add some more mahogany leaf, like he's just draped some leaves over this makeshift structure that he built. I want a little bit growing inside for some vines. Now this time, instead of shadewood fence, we're going to use large bamboo, and it'll just continue those metal those wooden struts that are holding this shelter together. And then to make them look thinner, we will place echo walls along the side of them. Of course, I'm currently wearing my Spectre goggles. I forgot about that. I'll take those off in a second. But this will make the wall overhang tuck in. It'll look quite a bit thinner. We'll just get rid of those. And now we have a thin support that we could walk in front of. We'll do actually, let's do no door. And instead of a door, let's grab maybe some brass shelf and just put that in there. It kind of fits the bamboo, so it blends in well. I could just use echo platforms as well, but I think this looks good. This will act as a doorway. So in case you didn't know, platforms do count as doorways. So that will be a door for this house. Now we can grab some living leaf wall and some lime paint and have this draped not only over the top here and there, but also we could have it come down inside of the house. And anywhere that I don't want it, like here, we can do something like this. I'll just get rid of the large bamboo wall that's right behind the block. That way we can have a proper leaf overhang like that. I'm trying to avoid any bits where the living leaf connects with the echo wall. I don't want any of that because it just looks a little bit off. But I do want some living leaf dangling from this structure like this. Then maybe a little bit more along the floor. Now get rid of the one right here that's connected to that right there. Now, what I'm going to do is we'll put those Spectre goggles back on. We'll grab echo coating probably, and it doesn't matter what wall we use at this point. Actually, before I do that, let's grab gray paint and let's add some metal bracings with this copper plating wall that I have here. Just so it looks like we've got a bit more of the wreck, the plane wreck or shipwreck or whatever you want to pretend that it is. We'll put that there. And what's that look like if I actually get rid of that? I might actually end up leaving this large bamboo wall to be fairly thick at those points. I'm not sure. I like the thick look of the copper plating, but I'm not liking the thick look of the large bamboo. So it's kind of like I get one or the other. I can't get both. So let's just do that. I guess it's like shipwreck or plane wreck. It's junk metal, right? So maybe it shouldn't all look uniform. Maybe it's better that it doesn't look uniform. Okay, I'll go with this. Now let's throw on those Spectre goggles, and we'll take some echo coating and just a wall that we're not using really, just so it stands out. We'll use bamboo wall, and I'm going to use this to fill in gaps where we have a whole bunch of air, because this will hide it away without affecting the nearby walls too much. It kind of affects them, but not massively. I'll explain that in a little bit. But essentially, I'm trying to make this a valid house. So let's see if we're there now. Yeah, okay. So you can have some holes in a house, but not a lot. And we are within that limit right now. So as you can see, when I take the Spectre goggles off, all of that hides away and it looks like we have a big open air area, but it's actually filled with walls. So the difference between Echo Coat and Echo Wall is pretty substantial. So just for example, if I were to have this large bamboo that we already had, and then I were to put Echo Coat or Echo Wall along the side of it, you'll see that the Echo Wall cuts into the large bamboo wall and makes it thinner. But if I were to use Echo Coating instead, it acts like the wall isn't there at all. Kind of. They will still create blending lines. So if I were to grab glass, this is a really good way to see it. So I have a block of glass wall here. And when I connect block or another wall type with it, you could see that there's an outline of, I grabbed the wrong wall there. You could see that there's an outline between the two walls where they connect. Regardless, we now have two suitable houses minus the furniture, which means we're at the point in the video that all I have to do is decorate. Then we could take a look at the final look of the house. And here we are. I set up the angler in the now burning hut on the apparently volcanic sea turtle island, and I made the pirate setup in the little ramshack hut that he threw together after his wreck. I'm pretty pleased with it. I think that the weakest part, personally, is probably all of the jellyfish. But again, there's a reason I didn't want to build a coral reef, and I will talk about that soon-ish, maybe. But now, let's see, does this actually work? Okay, yeah, they're close enough. We've got a working pylon, and while we're looking at it, don't go just yet, because we are going to roll the randomizer and find out which pylon we are building next. I just need to go up here and load in the target dummy. Back down we go. And we'll pull the lever. All right, the next pylon will actually be one of the new ones, which is very exciting. We will be building the Underworld pylon next. If you guys enjoyed this episode, and I hope you all did, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to help the channel grow. And a special thanks to my biggest supporters for the month, Kasu, Slathosar Porb, Pombo, and Matthew Sedgwick. And be sure to check out my channel artist, MythicalWater, linked in the description below. Thank you all very much for watching. Be back soon with a new video. Happy building.